Hello, CA warriors. How are you all doing? Friends, today we are going to start with a very interesting topic. But, friends, before that, remember the goal of this video is not to go deep into every single concept, but to give you a crisp, exam oriented summary so that you know what is important and how to remember it smartly. This book and video together will act as your perfect self study partner. And I'm super confident, guys, that after this revision, you will be able to solve any MCQ that come your way in the exam. So let's begin this rapid fire revision session. And yes, if you find these notes helpful, don't forget to share them with your friends. Friends, let me ask you a simple but powerful question. The question is, when the government spend money on roads, education, defense, or health, do you think it happens randomly? Answer is a big no. Every rupee spent by the government is a part of a planned economic document, and that is called budget. Friends, mantra of this unit is the budget is not just an income and expense statement, it is a government's economic roadmap. So, here in this chapter, Unit 3, we are starting with a process of budget making. Very interesting topic and very practical. You will be able to understand how government plan and run the country, manage the expenditures of the country. So let's start with a powerful energy. First question arises, what is budget? Friends, budget is a statement that shows where the government's money comes from and where actually money goes out or where it's spent. It contains estimated receipts and estimated expenditures. Yes, for the next financial year, call budget estimates. Yes, guys, budget is always made for the next financial year. Means budget is made on estimated basis. That's why it's called it is a part of a planning. Now the question arises, why budget is important? Because friends, it's very simple. Government resources are limited and public needs are actually unlimited. So the budget helps the government to use limited funds and to achieve a maximum social welfare. Hence, I can say that budget is a most comprehensive report of the government finances, right? Yes, because it regulate and restructure the country's economic priorities. So I can say the impact of budget is it reflects government priorities, it regulates a restructure and economic activities. That is why now it is said that budget is the most comprehensive report of government finances and a powerful policy instrument. So hope you understood what is a budget. So now the next question arises, need for the budget. What is the need? Why government make the budgets? So friends, first reason, there are many reasons. Now out of that six reasons has been noted. Now rest etc. The first reason is to allocate limited resources and to ensure maximum social welfare. Since resources are limited, the government must decide who gets how much. So the impact is priority sector like health, education, infrastructure get support. Then to reallocate resources in accordance with its declared priorities means the government reallocate funds based on development goals, social needs. Economic planning becomes goal oriented. Next is redistribution of income and wealth. Now, guys, through budget, government can redistribute income and wealth through progressive taxations, subsidies and welfare schemes. Resources flow, re flow, resources actually flow from rich to poor. Next is to reduce economic fluctuations during recession, that is government increased spending and inflation. By government spending, economic stability is actually maintained. Budget plays a very important role. Next is to reduce regional disparities. Yes, backward regions receive special grants, development projects in and get a center point in the budgets where equalized development take place. And last but not the least, to increase a real GDP. Capital and development expenditure boost production, employment, and growth. So, friends, by this need, you understood that budget plays actually a very, very important role. Am I correct? Yes. So, after understanding the budget and its need, let us understand how government makes the budget. What is the process of actually making the budget? So I can say that in India, budget making process have three major phases. Friends, budget making process will going to explain you in three major phases. The first phase is preparation stage. Now, preparation of budget is a great responsibility and a proud responsibility of a finance minister. Now, guys, budget gets prepared. It starts around August, September every year. Now you know budget always get declared on the first Feb of every year. So it budget making starts 6 months prior, around August, September of the previous year. Who handles now? And it is a main responsibility of making this budget is handled by Ministry of Finance. But Ministry of Finance is not a alone person who make the budget. Ministry of Finance always make a budget in consultation with various people, that is Niti Aayog, the main development agency of the country, and various ministries and departments. Okay, so now the question arises, when preparation take place, Barabar, what happens in this stage actually? Guys, in this, while preparing the budget, first all departments submit income and expenditure statements, their own estimates, because it's a country's budget and country is nothing but it is a sum of all the states. Now for states ministries, central chief ministers always send their state budgets. When all the state budgets and various independent ministries now give their estimated income and expenditure of the next year, all get accumulated and then India's budget is prepared. Is it? Yes. Guys, finance minister alone does not will not be able to prepare the budget. It is a budget of the entire country. Yes, the face is finance ministry, the leader and the head is finance ministry. So all department provide estimate income and pre-budget consultations are held by finance minister with various stakeholders, that is finance minister with chief minister of the states, industry association, farmers association, social welfare representatives and various economists, so that ground level reality and data get accumulated. Now, why this stage is important, friends? Because ground level needs to be understood and budget becomes more inclusive and realistic. Yes, so it includes revised estimates, budget estimates, and actuals. Various comparisons are done. Oh, so this was the preparation phase. Now, after preparing the budget, the second phase come into the existence, that is presentation and enactment stage. You know, budget is a people statement, public statement, where in which sector government is going to spend how much, what is their vision, what how on which direction they are running the country, where they were going to spend how much, because it is a public's money, public should know. So every year budget is presented by finance minister on the first Feb, now at morning 11 o'clock, by standing in the parliament and representing to the entire India. Now that first Feb is always a great day for the businessmen, for the practical people who are earning. Now, you know, big business tycoons on that day take a holiday, sit at home and watch the budget, analyze the budget, because directly indirectly budget also impact to the businesses. So it's a public's budget. So the union budget is presented on the first Feb in Lok Sabha by its finance minister. Now when budget starts, in budget speech of the finance minister now has two parts. That is part A, when she give the speech for 2 hours approx. Now it that the speech of the finance minister is divided in two parts. Part A is, it includes economic overview, policy priorities, welfare schemes, and government plans. And part B is, which is the most important, the common man wait for this, tax proposals and fiscal policy decisions. The amendment of the tax, income tax, indirect tax also comes as a part of the budget. So the documents which is included in the budget is annual financial statement, demand for grants, finance bill, FRBM Act related statements, and three types of government accounts, which is called Consolidated Fund of India, mainly government fund, now Contingency Fund of India for emergencies, and Public Account of India, where government acts as a banker for transactions like Provident Fund, small savings, etc. Friends, during election years, a vote of account or interim budget is presented instead of full budget. Now, the third phase is decision and approval, discussion and approval stage. What does this means? Friends, now discussion and approval stage is the most important part. Presentation stage was a public domain. Once the budget got presented in the parliament, now public listened to that budget. Now it was a finance bill. Now after that, now discussion in the parliament take place. Barabar, what amendments, what changes they want. Now discussion of various documents. Now and changes. So in this stage, general discussion on the budget take place as a whole. No voting rights, just views are shared on this budget, whether this budget is developmental, what negative positive points are there, now what weak points are there, what strong points are there, etc. But votings are not there. Only general discussion on the budget take place to take the review of various now Lok Sabha members. And while discussion, now demand for grants now as discussed, ministry wise discussion and voting take place on demand for grants. Guys, what is this demand for grants? Understand, demand for grant is a document where all ministry demand money from that budget share to run their own states. It's called demand for grant. Demand for grant is their own state-wise expenditures and income, so that that money should be disbursed to the individual states, and accordingly they can run their states. Okay, so if demand for grant after presenting state demands, let's say for example Maharashtra government to run the Maharashtra for the entire, they have their own budget, state budget. So that state budget is presented and some money is demanded. So if that demand for grant, what money have demanded, is passed, then the government introduce appropriation of bill. So if the demand for grant is accepted, say Maharashtra government says I need 1 lakh crore rupees to run Maharashtra, okay, and the voting take place, and it that 1 lakh crore is reasonable, so that demand for grant will be passed. And once the demand for grant is passed in the parliament, they get a document in approval. It's called appropriation of bill. Appropriation of bill is a document which gives a power to the state government to withdraw money from the consolidated funds of the India and given to the state to run their own states. Okay, but what if demand for grant is not passed? Sometime the amount demanded by the state, by his ministry, is unreasonable or inappropriate. Let's say I have demanded 1 lakh crore. Okay, now, but the decision comes 1 lakh crore is too much this year. Now, so reduce the budget. So again, they have to represent the demand. Now, so why demand is not passed? Because might be that the demand of that money is huge. So government introduce cut motion. Cut motion means they request to the ministry, please reduce the budget from 1 lakh crore, bring it to 90 lakhs. So cut motion seeking to reduce expenditures. So the word cut motion means now Parliament want that you should cut down the expenditure, should reduce the budget. Okay, so if demand is passed, demand for grant is passed, appropriation of bill is introduced, which give power to withdraw money from consolidated fund. If demand for is not, if demand for grant is not passed, cut motion is introduced, means reduce the budget. If demand for grant not discussed by deadline, guys, so many states, each and every ministry now present the demand for grant. Now it is usually of 4 days, but if for example it taking a lot of time, 4 days are getting over, last day is left, and the speaker of Lok Sabha realize कि now time is short and many demand for grants are remaining to discussed. So what speaker do? Speaker announce vote of the house, that is called guillotine process. Guillotine process means if discussion is not completed by the deadline, speaker put all the pending demand for grant demands to the vote. Is called guillotine process, means now no discussion will be taken place, no explanations will be taken place on the demand for grants, just voting will be done. Okay, either passed or not passed. Okay, passed to appropriation of bill, not passed then cut motion. Fine. So this type of discussion take place on demand for grants, and then next discussion is taken place on finance bill or money bill. Friends, finance bill deals with tax imposition. It is the most important bill. Now, whenever government want to make any changes in the tax structure of the country, whether it's a direct tax or indirect tax, as well as they want to introduce a new taxes or they want to abolish the old taxes in India, any kind of changes in the taxes can be done only by one bill, that is finance bill. So finance bill actually deals with tax imposition, abolition or changes. It must be passed in the Lok Sabha, and you know what? That this bill should be passed within 75 days of its introduction. Yes, because finance bill is not a permanent act, it is an annual act. Every year, finance bill is introduced, and finance bill must be passed within 75 days in the Lok Sabha of introduction. And after passing in Lok Sabha, this finance bill has been transmitted to Rajya Sabha for some recommendation, and Rajya Sabha has to return this bill with any suggestions and recommendations within 14 days of announcing. Is it? Yes. So you this third phase is very technical. You have to understand. You have to memorize from MCQ's point of view. Appropriation of bill, cut motion, various terms are there. Guillotine process, finance bill, right? And in how many days finance bill should be passed in Lok Sabha as well as in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this was the entire process of budget presentation. A long process, am I correct? Yes. So this was the budget processing announcement. Hope you understood this. Now we will get into the inner part of the budgets one by one. Let us understand. You know what is the budget most important part is? The budget is actually divided in two parts. One is estimated receipts, estimated receipts. Another one is estimated expenditure. Another one is estimated expenditure. Estimated receipts are two. Now, one is revenue receipt, another one is capital receipt. Receipt means from the entire year from where money will going to flow to the government. And after receiving money, they spend. Expenditures are also divided in two parts, capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. Is it? Yes. That's why there are two types of budget, revenue budget and capital budget. Revenue budget is comprises of revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. And capital budget comprises of capital receipts and capital expenditure. But now the question arises, sir, both are receipts only. So what is the difference between revenue and capital? Guys, capital items are that items which changes the assets and liabilities of the government. Means if any transaction which increase the assets or decrease the assets, decrease the liability or increase the liability is called capital receipts and capital expenditure. Now, there is no definition to the revenue items. Now, in India, now always definition is for capitals. What is capital receipt and capital expenditure? If you ask me what is revenue receipt and revenue expenditure, then the answer is any transaction which is not a capital receipt and capital expenditure is called revenue receipt and capital revenue expenditure. Okay, so those who know capital items, they know revenue items. Oh, it's like that. We never study true and false both. We always study true. False so is automatically we understand. Are you getting my point? Yes. So let us understand the sources of revenue. Now, first thing, very first, who control revenue collection? Revenue means the collection money is coming to the government. It's the most important source. Without revenue, government will not be able to spend only. So guys, the the revenue collection is controlled by Department of Revenue, which is headed by Ministry of Finance, control all union taxes. Guys, and Department of Revenue works through two boards. Now, because you know what is the main source of revenue for the central government? It's a tax revenue. And there are two types of taxes, direct tax and indirect tax. First is Central Board of Direct Tax, CBDT, and Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs for GST and Customs, CBIC. Central Board of Direct Tax and Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs, CBDT and CBIC. These are the two departments which is headed by Department of Revenue. Central Board of Direct Tax take care of the tax collection of direct taxes, and indirect tax, CBIC, is a department who take care of indirect tax system of the country, that is GST and customs. Okay, so let us understand classification of government receipts. As I told you, receipts are divided in two parts, revenue receipts and capital receipts, right? Revenue receipts is a daily collection. It's a main source of income for the government. It's a tax revenue. Tax revenue is the main source of revenue. Without tax revenue, no government can run the country. So tax revenue is a direct tax, indirect tax. The example of direct taxes are income tax, corporation tax, wealth tax, etc. Indirect tax, GST, custom duty, excise duty, etc. In the exam, now they can ask you the examples and then ask you, understand the example, refer the example and tell us which tax it is. Or odd man out can be asked. And then after tax revenue, non-tax revenue. Of course, government does not only depend on tax revenue. No doubt, tax revenue is the main source, but there are side incomes also to the government of India from where they earn. It is a fines and penalties. Now, government have made a law and orders. Am I correct? So the people or the companies who breach that law, they they charge the penalties. It is the revenue for the government. Interest received, government have made various investments in the country, so they receive interest, they enjoy dividends. Government is running various public sector units, its companies. Now from there they are enjoying profit. Then RBI revenue from UTs, donations received. Poor countries always get a donation from the rich countries, developed countries. Yes, so the donation which people country receive, poor country, is also a part of revenue receipt. No doubt, that was the one time when India was the poorest country in the world, and India also have accepted a lot of donation. But today, India is in a very fabulous manner, fabulous mode. Now, today we are not getting, we have a capability to give the donation to other poor countries. Yes, but it's a general examples. Capital receipts. Now, this is again a money is coming into in, but in this, capital receipts are the receipts which receive money by either taking the loans or selling the assets. So it is that receipt where assets are getting reduced and liabilities are increasing. That is non-debt capital receipts. Non-debt means government's owned fund. It's a government owned fund. Now there are two types of NDCR. It's a disinvestment, means sale of assets, sale of shares in PSU. Sometimes government of India sell the companies also. Yes, the best example is Air India. Earlier, the Air India company was owned by Government of India. Today, it is owned by Tata company. How come Tata become the owner? Because government have sold that company to the Tata. It's called disinvestments. Then recovery of loans and advances. In the past year, might be Indian government have given a loan to other countries. So this year we are recovering that loans. So in the see budget is made every year. So in the current year money is coming in. So recovery of loans and advances given last year, because loans were given last year, that's why we are recovering in the current year. So in the current year money is coming in. to the foreign governments and state governments and various public sector enterprises. And the another one is debt capital receipt. Debt capital receipt means borrowings. We are taking a loans. Because of this, liability increases, right? Yes. So money comes in, capital receipt comes in either by selling the assets, that is asset reduces, or by taking a loans, it's liability. Government can take a loan, but government take loans only in the case of deficits. When there is a budget deficit, he can borrow from public in the name of various saving schemes and provident funds and treasury bills. External borrowings means government take a loan from foreign institution, and foreign governments like World Bank, IMF, US, Russia, or the last option, they can borrow from RBI also. Is it? Yes. And I have written a note, capital receipt are that receipt which reduce the assets or increase the liability, right? And one formula is there. What is net tax revenue? It is a total tax minus state share minus national calamity contingent duty. As we have studied in a unit 1, right? Federalism, fiscal federalism, which is decided by finance commission. Now the tax revenue getting divided between state government and the central government, and the state government is getting 41% of the net tax pool. That is called net tax revenue means total tax minus state share, 41%. And some money is kept in a contingent fund, national calamity contingent duty. Rest the balance is managed by central government, which is called net tax revenue. Now understand public expenditure management. After revenue, expenditures. Now, managing expenditures of the country is the very responsible and most important task. Reason being, government is using funds of the public, as well as there is unlimited work to do and the resources are limited. So public expenditure management make government fiscally responsible. So let us understand in the channelized way. Now, what is public expenditure management? Since I can say it means government has limited money, but so they must spend carefully to support economic growth. Means the money should not be wasted. It should be always spent on productive expenditures and should avoid unproductive expenditures. Now, why it is important? Because it helps government to become fiscally responsible, and public expenditure management help government to spend minimum amount for a maximum results. So public expenditure management is the most important and responsible task for the government. Am I correct? Now you should understand, what if government would not be managing their expenditures very professionally and very effectively? What is going to happen? So friends, government will leads to a spend money on unproductive public expenditure. What does it means? Unproductive public expenditure refers to government spending that does not create any kind of future income, or does not create any kind of future assets, or it does not contribute to any kind of growth. So why this is a problem? Because such spending does not generate returns, it does not support a long-term growth. So it's a waste of money, it's a wastages, right? And now you should understand what is the impact if unproductive public sector increases. Friends, if bad public sector leads to larger fiscal deficits, low economic growth, lesser money for essential needs, higher taxes government is going to charge to cover up that expenditures, more public debts, government need to take a higher loans, which will increase interest burden on the future years. So here the key takeaway is quality of spending matters more than quantity of spending. Am I correct? Yes. So now the question arises, we understood what is the importance of public expenditure management. But now we should understand who is managing it actually. Friends, the answer is Department of Expenditure. Now, under the Ministry of Finance, like there is a Department of Revenue who take care of revenue collection, there is a another department under Ministry of Finance is Department of Expenditure who manage the public expenditure. Oh, why this department exists? Guys, government resources are limited, so spending must be controlled, monitored, and optimized. Hence, this department is needed. Now, what is the responsibilities? Guys, what is the responsibility of Department of Expenditure? Friends, it's very simple. Department of Expenditure has to follow Finance Commission and Pay Commission recommendations, monitoring the audits, whether money spent. Audit means to check is as per the planning or not. Money should not be get wasted. Preparation of central government accounts. He's also managing. He's also preparing central government accounts. Help central ministries and department control to control the cost and the prices. Now he always do the analysis and sending the reports, review systems for better outcomes. Huge responsibilities there for Department of Finance. Now the fourth point, classification of central government expenditure. Now government spend money to run the country, right? Where they are spending. If I say what are the areas in which they are spending, the examples are countless. So let us understand in a broader manner. Now, central government expenditure is classified into actually six broad categories. That is A, center's expenditure, in which there are three: establishment expenditure, central sector scheme, and other central expenditure. And the broadly B part under that, again, 3 points are there: centrally sponsored schemes, finance commission transfer, and other transfer to the states. These are the six broader categories. Three is under central expenditure, another one is under centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, now these schemes are partly funded. Centrally sponsored schemes are partly funded by center and partly funded by the state government, like PM Awas Yojana, midday meal scheme, etc. Impact: national priorities reach states effectively. Now, then following Finance Commission and Pay Commission recommendations, right? Monitoring the audits. Okay, then so let us understand one by one scheme. First is centrally sponsored schemes, right? Another transfer. These are scheme fund jointly managed by center and state. Then finance commission transfer. Finance commission transfer means sharing of central tax revenue with the states. Right? We have already studied in chapter number 1, that is fiscal federalism. 14th, 15th Finance Commission recommended sharing 42% of the central state tax to the states. It's 41%, somewhere it is mentioned 42%. Now, then other transfer to the states. Guys, grants for special projects, health, education, metro projects are actually funded by the central government to the states. Emergency assistance during natural disaster, right? So many expenditures are there. Then the next is establishment expenditure. Now it includes government salaries, administrative expense, pension payments, etc. It is a regular fixed operational cost for running the government actually. Then central sector schemes. Guys, some schemes are fully funded by central government, which is called centrally sector scheme, like national highway development projects, digital India program, etc. And other central expenditures are like investment in public sector units, fund to the autonomous bodies like Niti Aayog and ISRO. So many type of expenditures are there, broadly divided in six categories. So hope you understood public expenditure management and its importance and the type of expenditure which government incurred, right? Now the next topic is public debt management. What is public debt? Public debt is money borrowed by the government from internal and external sources. Why government borrow? Guys, debt management means loan taken by the government. Now the question arises, why government borrow? Of course, to meet the fiscal deficit and repay older loans, right? Whenever there is a shortage of fund to run the country, now that deficit should be covered by loans. Now, are you getting my point? So hope you understood why government do the borrowings. Yes. Now, so what is the main goal of public debt management? See, we are managing the debt. So main goal of public debt management is meeting fund needs at the lowest cost with the lowest possible risk. Of course, because when you take a loan, you actually solve the current year problem, but the burden of interest increases, Now, on the future years, am I correct? On the future years, what is the main goal? Goal, hope you understood. Now, role of public debt management is ensure macroeconomic stability, support now sustainable economic growth, financial market development, and long-term bond markets, so that deficit amount should be easier for everyone. Now the question arises, we understood what is public debt management and what are the main goals of public debt management. Now let us understand who manage public debt. So friends, it is Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India manage the public debt, but Reserve Bank of India have two departments. Everything Reserve Bank of India is just one organization, but for some specific targets, RBI have departmentalized various things. But Reserve Bank of India have two departments. One is IDMD, Internal Debt Management Department. It manage internal debt, means domestic borrowing. It manage issues government securities, treasury bill, dated securities, etc. Now we say whenever government need money, now RBI raise the funds. That is IDMD department. Okay, IDMD had responsibility to manage the debt of central government plus 28 states and various union territories. Right? Then second, who is managing public debt after RBI? Ministry of Finance. Now Ministry of Finance is just a phase. Again, they have divided some departments. Department of Economic Affairs is a department under Ministry of Finance. Now, what is the role of it? Guys, it manages external debts. IDMD manages internal debts. Now, and DEA, Department of Economic Affairs, manages external debts, loan from IMF, World Bank, etc. Budget division of DEA and RBI is decide how much borrowing is required and decide internal versus external borrowing mix. So here is a chart for better understanding. Understand, Ministry of Finance have a department called DEA have a sub department called budget division who decide how much borrowing needed from internal and external sources. Internal borrowing is done by IDMD and external borrowing is done by DEA of Ministry of Finance. Now, so that no confusion is required, you'll be able to solve MCQs. Now the next topic in this public debt management is FRBM Act. Guys, just managing debt is not the solution. Now, government should control the unproductive expenditures as well as the productive expenditure should be minimized for maximum growth. Now, and to reduce the fiscal deficits of the past year, one act has been introduced, that is FRBM Act 2020 2003. Now, the full form of FRBM is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management. It was a act was passed in 2003. Now, to provide legislative framework to reduction of deficit. Now, when I say it's deficit, which deficit? It's fiscal deficit. Guys, history states that now earlier years in India, the debt was huge over the country and it has been increased interest of many fold. So due to a large debt, due to underdeveloped, when India was underdeveloped, there was a huge debt on India. Now, to reduce that, government used to take more loans and it become a vicious circle. Now, Indian government was not able to recover, come out of that vicious circle of borrowing and interest burdens. So, government realized one organization should be there who should manage fiscal deficit, because the more fiscal deficit will lead to more borrowing. So, fiscal deficit, it was a very long term vision, and with a long term vision to reduce fiscal deficit, FRBM Act 2003 was introduced. Now, objective is very simple. The main objective is to reduce fiscal deficit. It is an intergenerational equity in fiscal management, long-term long-run macroeconomic stability, better coordination between fiscal and monetary policies, transparency in fiscal operations of the government. So many points are there. Next question arises, what does PDMC sell 2016 to? Guys, to professionalize public debt management, to professionalize public debt management, PDMC was actually created. Now, where it is located? The Department of Economic Affairs is a part of RBI. The objective of this is plan medium term debt management strategy, raise debt at a lowest possible cost and avoid disruption in financial data. Am I correct? So this was the public debt management and some other related points. Hope you understood. Now let us understand types of budget. The first is there are broadly two types of budget: balanced budget and unbalanced budget. But exactly there are three types of budget: balanced budget, surplus budget, and deficit budget. Surplus budget and deficit budget is a part of unbalanced budget. Let us understand what is balanced budget. Guys, it means total revenue equals to total expenditure. When I say total revenue, I want to say revenue receipt plus capital receipt, and total expenditure means revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure. Now, means expenditure is equal to all the receipts. Now, this balanced budget is always a theoretical approach. In the practical life, it can be a coincidence. Otherwise, exactly revenue is equal to expenditure is practically not possible. So either budget is surplus or deficit. Both are a part of unbalanced budget. In unbalanced budget, surplus budget means when estimated government expenditure is more than when estimated government receipts is more than now estimated government expenditure. It is called surplus budget. That means total receipt is more than total expenditure. This budget is always a dream budget for all the country. Every government wish the budget should be a surplus. Surplus means after managing all the expenditure of the country, after fulfilling all the needs of the public, now the surplus amount has been balance remained. It indicates sound financial position of the country. It indicates country is well developed. It indicates higher income people, etc. Next is deficit budget. Deficit budget means opposite when estimated government receipts are less than estimated government expenditure is termed as deficit budget. Now, deficit budget is always the most common budget in a developing countries. Yes, developing countries, because deficit budget indicates your expenditures are more than receipts. Now, then that means government have to borrow the money, and normally developing countries always have expenditure more because in that countries developments are going on. Okay, but the main part is deficit. There are four categories of deficit explained. First is revenue deficit. In revenue deficit, as I told you earlier, on as the word revenue indicates, capital items will not going to come. Revenue deficit means revenue expenditures are greater than revenue receipts. No capital expenditures and capital receipts will be considered. It's called revenue deficit. Only revenue items are considered. Now, what does this indicate? Friends, it indicates government cannot meet their routine expenses from revenue income. Now, in any country where there is a revenue deficit, it indicates a worse financial position of the country. Country is poor. Government is not able to manage the daily expenditures also. Forget about developments. That's why it indicates underdeveloped countries. Then fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is the actual deficit. It is called total deficit. In this, all capital and revenue items are included. Now, that means total expenditure is over total receipt, excluding borrowing. Till now, borrowing is not considered. Fiscal deficit help government to know how much actually borrowing is required. Now, fiscal deficit is always indicated as a percentage of current year's national income, that is GDP. Okay, fiscal deficit indicates borrowing requirement. Yes, that's why it's called excluding borrowing. Fiscal deficit indicates the real deficit before taking the loan, and the deficit amount indicates how much government have to do the borrowing. Okay, so the formula is fiscal deficit is equal to total expenditure minus total receipt, excluding borrowing. When I say total expenditure, I want to say revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus revenue receipt plus capital receipt, excluding borrowings. Excluding borrowings. Am I correct? Now, okay. Then, one more formula is there. Fiscal deficit is revenue deficit plus capital deficit. Both can be added. Okay. Next is primary deficit. Next is now deficit budget. Hope you understood. Now, next is primary deficit. Primary deficit has been derived actually from fiscal deficit only. The difference between primary deficit and fiscal deficit is just interest on loan payable. Oh, is it? Yes. So it is defined as now fiscal deficit is primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus net interest liability. That's all. So to find out primary deficit, you have to first calculate fiscal deficit and then interest amount should be get reduced. Okay. Now it focuses only on current financial imbalance. Now, current financial imbalance, ignoring past debt burden. This is the meaning. The next is budget deficit. The term budget deficit refers to total expenditure over total receipt. It includes borrowings. Now, it has been again derived from fiscal deficit. Before taking a loan, if there is a deficit, it's called fiscal deficit. After taking a loan, even deficit is pending, it's called budget deficit. So there are four types of deficits. Hope you understood. Now, after this, three more concepts are pending. That is types of funds. Friends, very important. First is Consolidated Fund of India. Now, the amount of money that is total revenue, capital revenue. Now, all this amount are accounted where? So government total fund is divided in three parts. One is consolidated fund, another one is contingency fund, and the third one is public account. Now, this is called total funds of the government. First is consolidated fund. It is the most important fund of the government. All revenue receipts and capital receipts as well as borrowings now are credited to the consolidated fund, and all expenditures are incurred from this fund only. Means the country, this is the main fund of the government. The entire collection of the country and the entire spending to run the country has been done from the contingency consolidated fund only. All government expenditures made from this fund. So guys, money can be spent from this fund only. It is appropriated by parliament. Now to use the fund from the consolidated, everyone have to take a permission from the parliament of India. And that is what we have studied budget making in the budget making process. Now, that is the third stage. Any state who want funds to run their state, they have to present demand for grant. And once the demand for grant is passed, now appropriation of bill is issued. That appropriation of bill give power to the state government to withdraw money from consolidated fund. Means permission is taken in the parliament. Next is contingency fund. The name itself indicates this is the fund kept aside to use under emergencies. So used for urgent and unforeseen expenditures. Right now, this money is kept kept by finance minister but on behalf of president of India. Means to use this fund for president of India's permission is needed. Now later required, guys, in this approx 500 crores amount is kept aside. Now this amount is created from where money comes in this contingency fund, from consolidated fund. Now, from consolidated fund, 500 crores approx money kept aside for in the contingency fund to meet the emergency. But this fund can be used with the permission of only and only President of India. Yes, but it's a public money. After spending money, need permission from President of India. After spending money, after handling that emergency and unforeseen conditions, Finance Minister have obligation to give the details where that money is spent under the Parliament. Next, public account of India. Friends, public account means it is a amount which is taken from the public by the government in the form of borrowings and deposits. Means all deposits or all saving deposits which government is managing of the public is a called public account. In this, government is acting as an banker. The amount which is there in public account is a liability for the government. Now which they, for on that they have to pay interest to the public for a long term, and that money can be used for the development. Now include provident fund. The various account are there: provident fund, small savings of the public, etc. Important one, money does not belongs to government. Guys, it is a liability for the government, and parliament approvals are not required because government is directly under obligation to meet this amount. So friends, by this entire chapter is over. But let's understand some important notes also, which is it is important from MCQ's point of view. Friends, apart from union budget, state and local bodies also prepare their own budget. Yes, in this chapter we have studied union budget, but union budget is not possible without state and union territories budget. So state and union territory budgets are also getting prepared. Now, every year budget should be presented in the parliament and it should be presented by finance minister. It is a rule, it is a law given under article 112 of the constitution to declare budget every year. Friends, third important, in election year, when there is an election, now two times budgets are presented in the year. Now, one is interim budget by the old government, and after voting, when the government changes, they again bring the budget. Now, in the only in the election year, now in the same year, two types of budgets are introduced. Friends, earlier in India, the two separate budget used to be get announced. Up before 2017, railway budget used to be get railway budget used to be declared separately by a railway minister, and union budget now was declared separately by finance minister. But later on, from 2017-18, both the budgets has been merged by the BJP because railway budget is also an Indian budget, it's an infrastructure budget. Now both the budget has been merged and a single budget is announced in a year, that is union budget. Okay, friends, one more point you should keep in mind. In developing economics like India, public spending is always greater than the revenue to asset growth, and government is generally a largest borrower. Now guys, that is what I told you, always developing countries faces fiscal deficit, and to manage the deficit loans are taken. Then one more thing for information, RBI provide loans, now short-term loans to the government by issuing treasury bills and ways and means advances. Now, treasury bills and ways and means advances, these are the two way through which RBI gives short-term loans whenever there is a need by the government. Okay, and the last but not the least, RBI is also developing a government security market. We can call it GSEC market now for retail direct account. Once this market is developed, RBI will government will no more will going to face the funding problems. So friend, this was the entire chapter. Very interesting. You hope you understood this. So that's it, my dear students. This was your quick revision session. Simple words, clear concept. Now there is no room for confusion. If you understood everything in one go, say yes, sir, and give it one more quick revision. Remember, smart study is the best strategy. Keep revising, stay confident, and believe in your preparation. And don't forget to tell your friends that these notes are total exam lifesaver. Stay consistent, stay motivated, and I will see you in the next rapid fire revision.